Hello, I'd like to welcome you tonight. It's May 20th, 2021, and we're going to be talking about transforming and healing my connection to the divine. Now, over the last 12 weeks, we've talked about a lot of stuff, and we've got a great event coming up at Mount Shasta. It's a Mount Shasta conference, and Rob Potter's putting it on, and he's put on several great conferences that I went and spoke at. And you can go to www.eventbrite.com and do a /E/1492110/7379/?discount DISCOUNT equals Scott, and you'll get a discount for the event there in Mount Shasta, August 26th through the 29th, the end of this summer. And that is the most beautiful time to go to Mount Shasta. We always have excellent speakers. It's in Northern California. They are having the conference there in the park, and you can actually get the water from the Mount Shasta spring down in the very bottom, and it's absolutely fabulous clean water, and I just love to drink that stuff. And the conference is at the building there in the park, and it's a great place for conferences, and so I'm very excited about that. So again, just copy this down and get on the internet and sign up, and we'll see you there. And those that sign up for this, I'm going to do and show up at the conference, I'm going to do a free intuitive reading on them at the conference. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to do it outside the conference, but I'll do it in the conference. If you sign up and for some reason you can't show up, let me know. I'll do a free intuitive reading on you for that too. Now, transforming and healing my connection to the divine. Right now we are separated. We have people who don't believe in God, people who believe in God. I mean, the duality is in full bloom. We've got people who are living the commandments. We've got people who don't even give a crap about any of the commandments. And we are seeing all kinds of good and bad and evil, and it's just amazing. So what do we need to do to get ready for the ascension? Well, we need to become righteous people, and have righteousness is the rightful use of energy. Now, we've talked about this several times because I want to ingrain this in your heads. Christ consciousness is the way of righteousness. Freedom and empowerment for all is the gift for all from God. Loving thoughts and unconditional selfless service is the mystical, which gives power to the whole. And so using that Christ consciousness or love in all things will lead to our ascension. And transforming out of determinism, you know, right now they're trying to take away our free agency. They're coercing us to make choices that normally we wouldn't make. And if you're feeding into that, you're losing not only your free agency, but you might lose your life. And so determinism, we talked a little bit about these terms last week, and determinism is where somebody else determines what's going to happen to you. You're not in charge of your own life. Somebody else determines what happens to you. Now, there's separatism. There's no ascended teachings that teach about separatism. They teach us that we're all one, the law of one, and that we're all interconnected throughout the universe. But they're causing us to separate ourselves and not even be able to get into groups, not be able to go to spiritual meetings, not to be able to even talk about things. And they're even censoring us on the internet. And yesterday, there was a whole bunch of countries with their internet down because the cabal didn't like what was going on and they didn't want people to know. And some people were thinking, oh, this is the good guys, but let me tell you, it was the cabal censoring many, many meetings on the internet, and they just lost their connection. Reductionism. There's no progress when you reduce everything down into its constituents. Reductionism is actually a part of the teachings of Cabal. And materialism, putting time and money into things rather than people and God. You know, it's materialism is at its highest point, and you know, a lot of people, they're buying up stuff because they're in fear of shortages and this and that and the other thing. I mean, even the gas shortage back east, they were filling plastic bags, which the gas will eat right through them. And it's crazy what's happening. But people aren't taking care of each other. They're just in fear and worried about themselves. And we've got to get out of that fear and start caring about our neighbor. So the Cabal paradigm, believe it or not, this morning I was praying about what I should talk about, and what we're going to talk about is God's plan versus the Cabal plan. Now the Cabal plan is definitely using determinism. They're determined that they're going to rule the planet and turn us all into slaves through transhumanist agenda of controlling our minds through artificial intelligence. And all of a person's choices, you know, are caused by events and facts outside their control, so the Cabal is controlling us. And if everything someone does is caused by events or facts outside their control, they cannot be the ultimate cause of their actions. Therefore, they have no free will. Free will, their teaching, is an illusion, and our behavior is governed by internal or external forces over which we have no control. Separatism. So, and if you don't believe me, they're internally going to control us through the immunizations and through injecting nanobot technology into us, the black goo you hear about in Star Trek, you know, where it literally controls your mind and controls what's going on with you, and if you're not doing what you're told, they can turn you right off. Okay, so the dark Cabal propagation, they're causing separatism with all the humans, and it's the advocacy of cultural, ethnic, tribal, religious, racial, governmental, or gender separation. I never thought I'd live to see the day as an OBGYN where you can't deliver a baby and go, oh, it's a boy, oh, it's a girl, now it's a they. So, you know, it's a weird world we're living in, and it's not God propagating this. It's the dark Cabal. And as with succession, separatism conventionally refers to a full political separation. And so, you know, I've never seen so many, you know, the Democrats and Republicans used to both believe in the Republic of the United States. And now we've got socialists in charge, and they're putting down all the people who want conservatism or having a free country. Now, the dark Cabal paradigm, transhumanism with AI integration for control. The elite are going to be run the show. These are the billionaires who've been, you know, literally taken over by the dark Cabal, and the truth is withheld with lies. In other words, we're being lied to so much and told those lies so often, people are starting to believe the lies are truth. And they don't reflect and try to find the truth. Now, how did Jesus teach about the truth? Literally, by their fruits ye shall know them. And the truth, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. And the truth is, you are free, and the only way you lose your freedom is by doing nothing as evil men are trying to take power. And so we need to take power back to ourselves and know, somebody was asking last time, well, how do we know who's telling the truth? Well, if they're producing good things, you know that they're telling the truth. By their fruit ye shall know them, because they will be kind, they will be loving, they will be charitable, they will be taking care of people rather than killing off people. It's an interesting paradigm we're living right now. Now, the other dark paradigm with the Cabal is reductionism. It's an approach that is used in many disciplines, including psychology, that is centered on the belief that we can best explain something by breaking it down into its individual parts and diagnosing you with schizophrenia, psychosis, not living in reality. It's interesting what the dark Cabal is doing to make us, the truth seekers, seem like we're nuts. We're crazy. The woo-woo people. Woo-woo used to actually mean that you were more illuminated than the rest of the people, and you were in charge of the powers that God gives us. And now it's a bad term that means you're crazy. So materialism is the philosophical belief that the world is made of material and there are no other types of entities, things. Everything is composed of material, even our bodies. Things that are not made of material, such as consciousness, are the result of actions by material. In other words, matter is the only real substance. And it's a tendency to consider material possessions and physical comfort as more important than spiritual values. So the God paradigm is different. It's complementary. It completes something else, making it better. And it serves as a complement. So it's used of two or more things when each adds something to the other and helps to make the other better. Going well together, working well together. The quantum paradigm, there's contextual, and the exact example of contextual is how the word read can have several meanings. But in God's language, everything has a singularity. And so one meaning. And that meaning, that ultimate meaning, is God's consciousness, love consciousness. Uh-oh, where'd that go? So God's teaching paradigm, consciously connected and competent doer, and knows the why. So, it's interesting. All we have to do to gain knowledge is read God's law in the Bible and in the sacred texts. Conscious breathing also benefits us and helps us to learn truth. Now, a lot of people, how can I know truth? Well, number one, ask. In the Bible it talks about, Jesus is talking about this, and he says, knock and it shall be opened. So knock and ask, what is the truth? And it'll be opened unto you. And if you don't know how to do that, learn how to pray first and learn how to meditate. Now, why is meditation so important? Meditation connects you to the divine and the void where God created the universe. And so breath detoxes and releases toxins and strengthens the immune system. Breath increases our energy through the prana and more oxygen. Think about the masks. They do the opposite. Breath improves the respiratory system. Believe it or not, there have been more people die last year of respiratory problems, and it wasn't just virus. It was not being able to breathe enough oxygen to help open up the airways, and people's airways started closing down and they started dying. And their minds didn't get enough oxygen, and so they started not thinking as clearly. The rate of Alzheimer's went up 10% last year, above what it was before. And so it's interesting. And meditation and breathing can improve this. Breath calms the nervous system. Breath strengthens the lymphatic system. It actually moves the lymph. And breath releases muscle tension. Breath makes us look more youthful. And the thing is, God breathed into us and caused us to start breathing, causing our life to begin. You know, I saw this thousands of times delivering babies. When they'd come out and take that first breath, they would live. If they didn't, we'd have to get them to breathe to keep them to live. And so God gave us the breath of life for a reason, and not just for the oxygen. So the Cabal paradigm versus God's. We're living during a pandemic. Now, this pandemic in particular is something that has been very controversial. As I have studied it, the old definition for a pandemic doesn't even work, so they had to change the definition for this. And this particular pandemic was planned by human beings for 20 years, from what I've been reading and seeing the patents on the virus, seeing the testing for the virus, seeing the immunizations. Even those were made long before Trump gave the mandate to start producing these things. And so it's been interesting looking at the difference between living during this pandemic versus a peaceful time. And it was prophesied that a pandemic would occur with the Armageddon. And so now Armageddon, believe it or not, you know, during the 4 years of Trump, the only missiles fired were the one that killed the bad guy in Iran, and then Iran shot a couple of missiles back. And that was about all the war that there was, except a little bit of stuff with Syria, but that actually occurred right after, right before Trump came into power. And we had a very peaceful time, but immediately after he was taken out, the borders got opened, all chaos breaks loose, there's wars, contentions, all kinds of stuff going on in the world, and there's not a powerful man in charge who's keeping the world peaceful. Right now, they don't care, and the more war, the better. And so we can see the difference here. Breaking commandments versus living the commandments. In the Cabal paradigm, they say, do whatever the heck you want. If you want to go out and rob, plunder, steal, rape, whatever you want to do, go do it. And whereas versus living the commandments under God's law, we're not supposed to kill. We're not supposed to steal. We're not supposed to harm our neighbor or even tell lies. You know, false witness. We're not supposed to be bearing a false witness to our neighbors or anybody for that matter. And so we need to live under God's law, which is living the commandments of God. Now, with the Cabal paradigm, everything is separate. And in God's law, everything is connected to God. And we are the ones that disconnect us from God. God's law is connection, a spiritual hierarchy of connection. And so you can see from the separatism what we're experiencing versus the unity consciousness. Now, Cabal paradigm, fear and anxiety. Now there's a lot more to the fear and anxiety than meets the eye. This low vibrating energy feeds the darkness. It makes the darkness stronger. But if we have love, bliss, peace, hope, we feed the good side of the energy. And with the Cabal paradigm, anger and hate versus kindness, compassion, and forgiveness. Now, shame, blame, and guilt happen with the Cabal paradigm because people are doing stuff and they just keep it. We all do have a conscience, and we know when we're doing stuff wrong, but we get so involved in it, we don't believe we can do any different, and so we continue doing it. Whereas in God's law, oneness and Christ consciousness, or the righteous way, is the path. Now, transforming and healing our connection to the divine, we are telepathically and energetically connected. Tele means distant communication, pathos or pantheia, meaning feeling, perception, passion, affliction, experience, is the purported vicarious transmission of information from one person to another. And it's not verbal, it's not with using any known sensory channels or physical interaction. And Saint Germain has been telling me we need to communicate through telepathy to people and communicate love, communicate truth, communicate God consciousness. Because right now with the mind control, they're not going to believe anything we're saying because it contradicts what they believe through the mind control. And when that happens, they start fighting with us. And contention is very high right now. Even if you're not wearing a mask as you go into a shop, you can get yelled at by other humans who have fed into the lies and believe in what's going on. Now, I always bring up the Maslow's hierarchy of needs because it's so important what's going on right now, because it's been turned upside down. Right now they're providing for, they've taken away our ability to get these things by ourselves, and so now they're controlling our breathing with the CO2 Green New Deal. They're controlling our food. All of the billionaires have bought up all of the farms, and they've bought up all the water rights, so they control the water. They're telling us to go out and just have sex with whoever and whatever, and they're affecting our sleep. I'm getting so many people who can't sleep during this time. And our homeostasis is being assaulted through the immunizations, and our excretion, they're telling us, we're having too many things, and yet they're trying to get us to buy a lot of things. And so it's interesting how everything has shifted. And it's important for us to realize that our morality, our creativity, our spontaneity, problem solving, lack of prejudice, and acceptance of facts come from God. That's our self-actualization. But they've turned this totally upside down. So the Cabal paradigm versus God's paradigm. Separatism is the advocacy of cultural, ethnic, tribal, religious, racial, governmental, or gender separation from the larger group. So in other words, every bit of this is going on right now. As with succession, separatism conventionally refers to full political separation and division of power out of the whole, or we the people. Now, the creation of fear and separatism creates chaos, anarchy, power struggles, disunity, and can stop our evolution with destructionism. God's law brings freedom, unity consciousness, truth, respect of others, self-esteem, creativity, confidence, achievement, morality, benefit of the whole, compassion, and love consciousness. Now, you think about what's going on and what the media, the movies is propagating. They're propagating fear, separatism. You know, Stephen Greer, who has been with the disclosure movement for 40 years, trying to get us to know there's beings from other worlds, and they're not bad. You know, the government's trying to depict them as bad, and they're creating a plot to take over the humans and all this. No, we're being taken over from within with the fear, the anxiety, the separatism. Everything is keeping us from going into the love consciousness and the ascension. It's about control of planet Mother Earth. And if they can't control the Earth, they'll blow it up. That's their plan. And so we've got to know we've got to win. And I've received a message from God that God is going to win. God doesn't lose. And so even the Looking Glass Project, they haven't been able to change the outcome where God wins and the ascension happens. So just know, you might as well get on the winning team. Okay. Now, when we put God's love into every energy center of our body, several things happen. Number one, what I've noticed, you know, if I, even though I had a perfected heart put in me 20 years ago, it's fascinating that when I start getting involved in any of the chaos, when I start getting angry at people, I can still have heart pain. But you know, when I breathe in God's love into my heart, that pain immediately goes away and I feel much lighter and happier. And that's just by bringing it in my heart chakra. I've been taught by Christ, by Jesus, that we bring it into our heart chakra in the law of threes. We breathe in 3 big breaths, bringing the love of God into our heart. Then we breathe into our throat chakra, and we only speak the love of God. We only hear the love of God, because our hearing and throat chakra are actually involved in the same energy center. And we do that 3 times. Then we go into our visual center and bring God's love in, that all I see is God's love. And everything I see is the love of God. And you do that 3 times. Then you go up into the mind, the 7th chakra or crown chakra, and bring the love of God into your mind. And nothing but the love of God is what you think about. All that you think about is the love of God. You do that with 3 breaths, 3 times. And then you go up into your 8th chakra, which is the mighty I Am Presence, our connection to God. And you bring the love of God into your mighty I Am Presence. And what this does, what I was taught by Saint Germain, whenever we send love to our mighty I Am Presence, which you're doing when you bring God's love in, you're sending it to different parts of your body and sending it up to your mighty I Am Presence. Guess what happens? The mighty I Am Presence comes closer to us and sends love back. And so do that 3 times in the 8th chakra. Then I go down into the solar plexus, which is where all our feeling, our emotions are. And as you bring the love of God in there, all that I feel is the love of God. And the love of God is all that I feel. And, you know, love heals all your organs and systems. So as you're bringing this love in, you're actually becoming younger, stronger, healthier, more beautiful every day. As people become loved, they become more beautiful. It's quite fascinating. Now, the sacral chakra is our creativity. And so you bring God's love into your creative center. Everything I create is created with the love of God. And the love of God is what I create everything around me with. And you do that 3 times. Then you go down into your root chakra, which is your center connected to the earth, and it's your base, it's your survival, your grounding. And actually, when you bring the love of God into that chakra, you don't survive, you thrive. And thriving is beautiful. Everything gets brought in and by the earth and God's love, and you are taken care of. And so just know we need to connect ourselves to the divine through God's love. Uh-oh, my blinker's not working for some reason. So I'm going to have to move this over and kind of hit it. Oh, there we go. Okay, so you've seen this slide before, because these are our connections to the divine. You know, we can do yoga, especially the Kundalini. You know that Jesus went to the Far East. He learned all kinds of yoga, all kinds of meditation, all types of belief systems, and he integrated God's love into all of these and brought it back when he started teaching in the Holy Land. And he taught yoga. And Kundalini is a very powerful yoga that literally stimulates the energies that are holding down into the root chakra and our sacral plexus, and it brings them up, giving even more energy to our higher chakras. It's a beautiful way to meditate and increase your energy. And I have it on my disc, a type of Kundalini breathing that's very easy. You don't have to sit there for hours and hours and hours. You can do it within 15 minutes. Now, meditation with focused breathing with the muscle-assisted locks is extremely powerful for bringing in the power of God. And so when you're doing the love meditation, bringing in the love, starting with your heart and going up in the throat and so forth, that is a focused breathing, and you can use the muscle-assisted locks with it. And it's very, very, very powerful. Excuse me, I need to get a drink. Doing a detox or cleanse. Now you can do this with your mind. You can take and clean your body and take those toxins and uncreate them out of your body through prayer and breathing. And you can remove fluoride out of your pineal gland. You can remove the chemicals, toxins, heavy metals, whatever. And we are the gods. We've been taught that we aren't powerful, but we really are. And so just know you can do these things. Now you can take herbal remedies to detox you, and that does work, but it takes a long time. But you can pray to God and ask God's assistance, and you will be detoxed immediately. So taking herbs are God's medicine, and you know that I advocate them, but we are creators, and we have the power to create health, wealth, well-being, beauty, everything. And the love of God is the most powerful creative energy. It's what the entire universe was created with. Crystals and locating those crystals near the body. You know, I love crystals. We put over 554 crystals in our home and directed them and blessed them to do certain things. And they hold those blessings. They hold the energy that you put into them. And they're very powerful. Now, creating sacred space with statues, pictures of ascended masters. But, you know, God said, "Thou shalt not make any graven image." When he said that because he didn't want you treating anything like God, except God. You can love things, like I have pictures of the ascended masters, Mother Mary, Jesus, you know, and I love them. I have them there to remind me that they're there for me. but I don't worship them. The only thing I worship is the one and true living God, the Almighty I am that I am. And that's the guy that made the commandments. You know, thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, mind, and soul. And so let's listen to those things. Singing, toning, chanting has been found to be very delightful and opens up our chakras, opens up our healing channels, opens up our DNA, and it's very powerful. As we bring the love of God into our 8th center, everything we create changes, because we are aligning ourselves with our mighty I'm presence, which is the direct creation that created us through God. And knowing that God is in charge changes our perceptions in the world and organizes it with the love of the Christ consciousness. So we begin to trust more. We will be provided all that we require to live and thrive. Angels, God, descended beings will provide for us. And so that's the message from God. It was interesting, as I taught last week's lesson, God said, Scott, reiterate this, but change the paradigm a little bit from the unity consciousness or the quantum consciousness energy to God consciousness. And so that's what I was told to do. And at the end of each meditation, invoke the highest and greatest possibilities to enter into each of your energy centers with God's love, organization, and perfection. And guess what happens every time you do that? You're creating a new timeline, a new and better body, a better mind, a higher consciousness of love that will bring you people into your life who are in that consciousness also. And so by adding this to the end of your meditations, you'll shift every day into a higher state of energy, greater possibilities, a new timeline, bringing healing, organization, cellular changes, strengthening your organs, glands, bones, ligaments, tendons, systems, and total new body health to new levels. And then last of all, for all of this, I send forth the deepest gratitude. You know, when I was taught to pray, you start out addressing the divine. My dear Heavenly Father, or dear God, whatever you call God, call them by name. And then you thank them for everything you've been given. And that part of the prayer should be your longest part. You know, thank you for my home, my car that gets me to work and back. Thank you for my good friends. Thank you for my food, my clothes, my everything that I have, you know. And then you ask for what you desire. And so you literally say, God, show me the truth. God, help me get along with this person that I was having a little bit of contention with, or whatever is going on. Ask for God's help, and God will open up and help you, believe it or not. And then you end the prayer with, in the name of Jesus Christ. Jesus taught us that you ask God in my name for what you desire, and I will assist you and help you with God. And isn't that just ultimately what we desire? I am that I am, and so be it, so it is. Gratitude is the ultimate energy of receivership. Now, is the most important time we have is now. You know, we have the past, which if we feed into will not move forward. We have the future, which we haven't really created yet. But the now is the present moment, and now is it's time to love yourself. Now it's time to focus on perfecting yourself and loving yourself and being in the earth. Heal your art fields, healing your energy bodies, physical body. The mental thought creates the intent. The thought leads to creation of energy and action, the emotions add magnetic energy. The brain and the heart have, the brain's mainly electro energy. The heart is electromagnetic energy, and so always add the love of your heart to everything you're trying to create. Creates a cause, an effect, a construct, the personality. Our personality creates our personal reality. Our personal reality creates the collective reality, and our world reality, the universal affecting reality, and God's reality. God's reality is the love of consciousness, and that's what we need to attach to. So in summary, we need to apply these teachings and techniques. I just want you to meditate and pray. You know, do the 24-strand DNA. It does help you. It does energize you. It does perfect your body and help you heal faster. Clear negative thoughts as fast as you make them. I'm still guilty of negative thoughts, and I have to recognize them very quickly, because you have about 5 seconds to recognize it and cancel it and replace it with good energy, so that the negative thought doesn't create any damage or disease in your body. Have the intent to love your life and all of humanity, no matter what situation you're in. If you're in a really bad situation, all you got to do is shift your consciousness to God, and it will improve, believe me. More loving thoughts, sounds, visions, a more love-filled life, and unity, love, consciousness. Now, today is the last day of the mentoring. And to me, I'm kind of sad. In fact, you know, it's the last time meeting with you. I've enjoyed this immensely. I've enjoyed your comments. And so I want you to know the assignment today is just to say a short thing. I am one with the Father, and the Father is one with me. Jesus said this, I and the Father are one. And you can go a step further with the Divine Mother consciousness. I am one with the Mother is one with me. I and the Mother are one. And then you can also just set it as the universe. I am one with the universe, and the universe is one with me. I and the universe are one, because the universe is God's. So just know that. So we're going to go ahead with the questions. Okay, thank you. Okay, here's our questions tonight. Why did the Dark Ones allow us to have Scripture and godly Jesus teachings and not prevent us knowing the truths? Well, that's kind of an interesting question, and I'm going to describe that. Furthermore, what were the most important truths did they remove from the Bible? Well, you know, in the 40s, out came a bunch of teachings of the Essenes from Qumran and from the Cathars and from Egypt. They found all of these ancient scriptures. And we've had many books, like the Book of Enoch, the Book of Thomas, that have been revealed to us. And so the churches, they did conceal some teachings that they thought were heresy. They didn't really understand them because they didn't have Jesus sitting there and explaining them to them, and they didn't go into prayer and meditation to figure out what was missing. But you know, the Bible is very interesting. And as I've studied the Bible over the years, I've found everything is in there. All the revelations, all of the teachings of Isaiah, the teachings of Melchizedek, the teachings of Jesus, the teachings of the apostles, it's all there. And it teaches us about all this stuff. I can find scriptures that describe everything I'm teaching you. And so it is all there. The problem is They made the people not even be able to read. They made the people be subjected to slavery. You know, this Cabal thing's been going on for centuries. And when the United States was created, the founding fathers actually had the help of the ascended beings, the ascended masters, to create this wonderful country. And now we're being brought to our knees and subjugated to lies and non-truth. And so if you want to find the truth, start reading the Bible. You'll find everything's in there. So, okay. They were removed, you know, back in the time of Constantine. Constantine was a sun worshiper, which isn't all bad, you know. I mean, the sun is a celestial orb, but you know, a lot of the important and simple things were removed to the Bible during that time when Constantine joined with Christianity, but he actually never did really convert. And so that's when all that happened. Okay, do you see the present propaganda, separatism, etc., shifting toward truth anytime soon? Yes. We are the ones who came back to shift that energy. And if we're sitting on our thumbs and not meditating, not telepathically communicating the truth, we are a part of the problem. We can't just sit on our own laurels and expect everything to happen. We need to believe in God, trust in God, and live Christ consciously and the way of righteousness, so doing good things. We are the ones who came, and we are going to help bring this about. Where people will be able to discern the deception. Let me tell you, once they've got mind control over you, it's hard to think for yourself. Once you've gone out and sinned so much that you're in guilt, shame, and blame, your soul actually starts hiding and not expressing your light and your love. And so it's like Jesus said, go and sin no more. You know, all God expects us to do is be better, do better. And that's what we need to do. And that will bring about the ascension. Okay, loving this, that we can use affirmations to feel better. Yes, absolutely. Okay. Now, we did this meditation before. It's in the previous one about the God love meditation. In that one, go back and look at it again. It has those. I went through the entire body. Let me see how much time. Oh, we got enough time. Okay, I'm going to go back to that slide. And of our chakras. And, you know, I did teach a lesson about this during these 12 mentoring sessions, so go back and re-see it. But you start with your own heart. And the reason you start with your own heart is our hearts are heavy right now. And we need to make them lighter. And when you bring God's love in, God's love is the lightest energy. It's full of the love of God, and it just makes your heart feel light and wonderful. So you breathe it in, breathing in God's love. And I move energy with my hands, and that's why you'll always see me doing this. So I breathe in God's love, and I hold it in my heart for 5 seconds, and then when I breathe out, I release anything that isn't God's love. And then I breathe in again, God's love, and hold it, God's love in my heart, the perfection of God's love. And I release anything that isn't God's love. And then breathe in again, God's love into your heart. And as you're breathing, you're bringing in the air, the prana, and God's love into your heart. So you're actually bringing love energy and the prana and more oxygen. And you're healing your lungs, believe it or not. As you're in this chakra, the lungs, your thymus, which is your main immune system, is energizing through that God's love and the prana and the oxygen. And then you release. So then you breathe into your throat chakra. You breathe in deep and breathe into your throat chakra. Everything that I say and everything that I hear is with God's love. And I say everything with God's love, and I hear everything with God's love. And then breathe out. Then do it, 2 more times. I speak. I bring God's love into my heart, up into my throat chakra, and everything I speak is with God's love. Everything I hear is with God's love. Then breathe out. And breathe in the 3rd time. God's love into your heart, and bring it up into your throat chakra. Everything I speak is with God's love, and everything I hear is with God's love. And release. And then you go up into your visual center. You bring God's love into your heart, bring it up into your visual center. Everything I see is God's love, and there isn't anything that I see that isn't God's love. And then breathe out. And then breathe in again, heart, God's love into your heart, bring it up in that 3rd eye. All that I see in my visions and dreams is God's love, and my visions and dreams teach me about God's love. And release. Breathe in again. God's love into your heart, bring it up into your 3rd eye. All my meditations, I see God's love, and God's love is what I see when I meditate and pray and release. And then bring it up into your heart, God's love into your heart. Breathe it in, bring it up into your mind. I love God with all my mind, and my mind is what I see God with. And release. And then bring it in again. You can say whatever you want. Just kind of associate it with that chakra. Breathe it into your heart, God's love. Bring it up into your mind. I love God with all my mind, and all my thoughts are with God's love. And all I think about is with God's love. And then release. So that was our 3rd time. Then go up into your 8th chakra, or your mighty I am present. Bring God's love into your heart. Breathe it in, bring it up to the mighty I am presence. I love my mighty I am presence connection to God, and I am connected with God's love to my mighty I am presence. And release anything that isn't love. And bring the breath in again to your heart. And bring it up into your 8th chakra. My mighty I am presence, I send God's love from my heart. And I love you, my mighty I am presence. And then release. And do it a 3rd time. Breathe in. God's love into your heart. Bring it up into the mighty I am presence. My mighty I am presence is filled with love for my heart. And my mighty I am presence brings more of God's love down into my heart. And release. Then you move down into your 3rd energy center, or solar plexus. So breathe in, bring God's love into your heart again, and bring it down into your solar plexus. Everything that I feel is with God's love, and God's love is all that I feel with. And then release anything that isn't God's love. Breathe in again. God's love into your heart, bring it down into your solar plexus. The love of God creates perfection in all my organs and systems, and all my organs and systems are filled with God's love. And then release. Breathe in again. God's love into your heart, move it down into your solar plexus. Everything that I feel is God's love, and God's love is all that I feel. And release. Then you breathe in. God's love into your heart chakra, bring it down to your creative center. Everything that I create is created with God's love, and I don't create anything that isn't God's love. And release. And breathe in again. God's love into your heart and bring it down into your sacral plexus. Everything that I create with humanity is God's love, and with humanity I don't create anything that isn't God's love. And release. Then breathe in again. God's love into your heart and take it down into the root chakra, your connection to the earth. And I love the earth with God's love. And God's love is what I love the earth with. And bring it and let it go. And then breathe in again. God's love into your heart, bring it down into the earth chakra. I love all the animals, insects, beasts, plants, everything about the earth, and the earth loves me. And release. And bring it in the third time. God's love into your heart, bring it down into the earth, and I heal the earth and all the people on the earth with God's love, and with God's love all the people on the earth benefit. And release. So that's basically, and then you can end with just breathing in God's love in your heart and saying, I am one with the love of God, and the love of God is one with me. I and God are the love of God. And just, so that's the lesson, folks. And let's see, do we have any other questions? Okay, could you demonstrate how to click the tongue as a lock during God's love meditation? Yes. Now, all it is as you're bringing it in, now this is what the Kundalini meditation, I bring in that energy and then I take it up to the roof of your mouth with your tongue and click it. And then roll your eyes up, and that brings it up even further into the visual center. You take it up into the mind and up into the 8th chakra, and I store that Kundalini energy in my 8th chakra because my 8th chakra is pure, because that's where my mighty I am presence is. So that's more to do with the Kundalini. And I did demonstrate it, I believe, during these, and if you don't have a copy of it, shoot us an email. I do have a CD disc that has the Kundalini breathing. It's also in Take Back Your Health, and it's written out. And I'm making a new edition that's going to have the love meditation in it, because that has came since the publication. So just know we do have these things. And no, I don't want to stop seeing all of you too, because that's a comment. And when will the fall mentoring start? Okay, yes. Now, I've got a little summary here, and it's going to be called Getting Ready for the Ascension. Normally the tuition will be $300. I'm going to do a special up till September 1st for $200. And if you donate $300, you get a free intuitive reading. But if you join by the end of May, so in the next 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks, about 10 days, by the end of May, I'll give the fall mentoring to you for $200 and include the free intuitive reading. So sign up with Amy or Jane or any of the people working at the office. They're there from 11 till 5, Monday through Friday. And I will let them know I just did this today, and so I'll let them know tomorrow that we're doing this, and because they're gone for today. But St. Germain said, yes, you're going to continue this because people need these teachings to get ready for the ascension. We need to be taught so that we can go out and teach others, and then they'll go out and teach, and it will be like right now it's just a little ripple, but it's going to become a wave and fill the earth. So just know that's what our goal is. Now it's time for the blessing. So we'll go ahead and do that now. And you can also go to my PayPal and pay the $200. Just put a little note in there. This is for the fall mentoring. and you get the free intuitive reading and everything. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We'll go ahead and give the blessing. And remember, each of you can bless each other, and just use a similar method with what I'm doing. There is no wrong method, except if you're a Satanist and you're doing it, with the satanic energy. Then you're not doing a blessing from God. So, so we'll go ahead and do this. I'm going to get a quick drink. Okay. In the name of the Almighty, I am that I am, and by the powers of the Christ consciousness, the great divine director, Saint Germain, Yeshua ben Joseph, Mother Mary, Kuan Yin, Mary Magdalene, all the divine feminine, all the divine masculine energies, the seven Elohim and their twin flames, we give you a blessing of God's love and creative energy. We bless you that you will go in peace, and peace will be with you. We bless you that ye shall know the truth, and the truth will make you free. And use that truth to edify yourself and fill yourself with the righteousness and goodness of God. Follow the commandments of God, as explained in Exodus in the Bible. Know that if you follow these commandments, they carry promises from God, especially when you honor thy father and thy mother. Your days will be long upon the earth that God gave unto you. It is the commandment with a promise from God. We bless you that your lives will be enhanced. We bless you that your bodies will be strong and healthy. We bless you that your organs and systems will function perfectly. We bless you that the toxins will be removed from your bodies as you bring God's love into your bodies. We bless you that you will bless your food, bless your water, bless the air that you breathe, because this will enhance it with God's love and make it more perfect for your bodies and not cause any problems. Bless everything that you take into your body, even if you feel the need to take the vaccination. Bless it with God's love, and it will be made into an inert substance that won't harm you. We bless you all with these things, and do it in the name of the Almighty I am that I am. And in the name of Yeshua ben Joseph, we ask these things, Jesus Christ. So be it, so it is. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you this fall.